Hello. Thank you for joining us today for this session, where we are talking about state and local governments innovating through the cloud. My name is Morgan Reed, and I'm an Executive Government Advisor for Amazon Web Services, supporting the Western region for our state and local government practice. I'm happy to be joined today by two outstanding government leaders, Mike Hussey, former CIO for the state of Utah, and Tanya Hanna, CIO for King County, Washington. They'll both talk to us about their respective cloud journeys, and then we will wrap things up with a panel where we can dive deeper. Before we hear from Mike and Tanya, I'd like to set the stage for our discussion today. While this past year has been difficult for our country's health and economy, it's been a great test for those that invested early in cloud technology, being able to stay online and scale their applications amongst unprecedented demand brought on by the pandemic. Like our friends in the states of Rhode Island and West Virginia, who both leverage virtual call center solutions built on Amazon Connect to scale their unemployment insurance call centers, and went from a capacity for only taking 75 calls at once to over 2,000 calls simultaneously with the help of automation, and helping their employees process tens of thousands of claims when their citizens needed it most. We also helped county government customers like LA County scale their ability to support employees working from home. When their government shut down, they were not going to be able to get 50,000 laptops over a weekend, but they were able to use AWS AppStream and Workspaces to allow their employees to securely access their government applications from their own devices while working from home with a consistent user experience. We've seen city governments who have moved from paper-based systems at the walk-up window to online services where citizens could engage from their mobile devices, and employees could fulfill those requests from home. They were able to keep their services available when their buildings had to close, and we are already seeing a lot more demand from government agencies as they move forward this year. And now, to turn it over to our first speaker, Mike Hussey. Mike, can you share some highlights from the state of Utah's cloud journey?
Thanks, Morgan. I'm Mike Hussey with the great state of Utah, which is home to over 3.2 million folks and some of the best skiing in the world. But as you mentioned, Morgan, many states are dealing with many challenges, and Utah is an adopter and investor in technologies that will deliver value long into the future. And with that large investment, we want to make sure that our 3.2 million Utahns are able to provide the feedback on those services and provide the input that we need. As you can imagine, it may be difficult, quite a difficult task to read and evaluate all of that feedback coming from those Utahns. And as better stated, it might be an impossible task for a human or a team of humans. So we tried evaluating or building an on-prem human approach to this and a sentiment analysis engine, but found it was prohibitively expensive. Challenges we found were scalability, flexibility, coupled with the challenges of not having to maintain an on-prem environment, made us think we were not able to obtain the desired insights. Were we to continue to be insight rich and data poor? Of course not. We're the beehive state. We're industrious. We're all about rolling up our sleeves and solving difficult problems. So how do we solve this problem? We enlisted the help of the AI engine and AWS Comprehend. We sent thousands of sentiments from the consumers of our services into the AWS Comprehend AI engine, sat back and enjoyed the output telling us about our work. The sentiment analysis engine taught us about great things we did, but more importantly, it taught us about areas where we needed to improve. And this allowed us to change internal processes and proactively respond to user feedback long before we found ourselves making the headlines. Now we can continually monitor the feedback and better understand if we are serving the needs of the people. Imagine a government for the people. Another expectation of these 3.2 million Utahns is to be careful stewards of their data and frugal with their taxes that they get so that we spend on state systems. This is a little bit about our cloud journey. Allow me to tell you about one on-prem system where we had a few challenges. A system with our state tax system. We had difficulty conducting weekly backups due to the volumes of data being backed up. The backups would begin on the weekend and hopefully finish into the next week before the next differential started to begin. That wasn't ever the case. Also, our disaster recovery site for the system was growingly increasingly more expensive to maintain, and costly upgrades were needed for these tax systems. And we really wanted the high availability performance that was expected. And to be honest, sometimes the system would perform underwhelmingly. We had a decision to make. We could make a large investment in infrastructure. We could attempt to reduce the backup time and enhance the resiliency, and then try and maintain the in-house expertise to maintain and monitor those systems. Or we could look at cloud solutions that would overcome those same challenges. Our software vendor helped make this decision easy. They had a recipe that we could follow that just would take our environment, script it right into the AWS cloud. This recipe showed us what boxes to check, what configuration changes to make sure that our federal regulators would be happy with the audits when they perform them, and ultimately allowing us to sleep at night. I know we have some talented folks in the state, and we have a great relationship with this software vendor, and actually a great relationship with AWS. All of this came together to create one of the most headache-free migrations we have ever conducted with this tax system. Did it solve all of our challenges? You bet it did, and more. The system now backs up in a fraction of the time. No more waiting for the backup to complete during the first part of the next week and worrying about whether or not there's congestion for the next backup job. DR is built into this cloud solution, so we have the peace of mind that our systems are resilient. And the cloud solution actually outperforms its on-prem predecessor. The scalability of the system to meet peak periods of the year is also built into this. And we're finding so much value. And one of the things we didn't expect was that it would cost less. We were expecting the migration to be cost neutral, or maybe even slightly more expensive because of the added benefits of migrating to the cloud. But when we found that it was cheaper and that we could actually spin down test and dev environments to allow us to even save more money, we were very excited. As you might know, the old adage of you can't have your cake and eat it too, I think is finally being proven wrong. Let me share one more of our cloud stories we have. Many of us are finding mainframe support difficult. Yes, we have a mainframe running in the state of Utah, and we had just a couple of systems running on it, but we're finding that our diminishing talent pool and the resources needed to continue to run the mainframe were increasingly more expensive and difficult to find. These systems were written years ago, and talent, like I said, was very scarce. We wanted to make enhancements to the systems, again, to respond to the people, but found insurmountable hurdles because it was on the mainframe. So recently we took on the task of removing one of those services from the mainframe, our child support system. And we wanted to move it more to commodity type hardware. Now, rather than a complete rewrite, refactor, and or move the cloud application, or excuse me, the mainframe application to a mainframe in the cloud, we thought, let's just do a code translation from COBOL to Java. And what we found is in less than 18 months, we were able to complete that migration of code translation from COBOL to Java, migrate it to the cloud, and now we have the ability to now modernize some of that application. So what we did is we now don't have to retrain the staff that use the system. It's identical to what they have. We get the resilience of having that system without having a mainframe on our DR side. And we actually have increased logging, better logging than we had before. Now this seems all too pie in the sky, but what we're finding as we have gone down this journey for cloud, we are seeing a more responsive, a more resilient, and a more modern child support system. And it is we're proud to be working on our last mainframe application, which is in the final stages of doing the same thing as this COBOL to Java translation. And why is all this possible? It's because of our cloud journey. So thanks, Morgan.
Thank you for sharing, Mike. It was really interesting to see how the state used data to better understand citizen experience and improve that experience through new cloud-based systems. We are definitely excited to be part of helping Utah get off the mainframe and accelerate your cloud journey. Turning to Tanya, can you please tell us how King County used the cloud to improve citizen and employee experience?
Thanks, Morgan. Hi, I'm Tanya Hanna, the Chief Information Officer for King County, Washington, the 12th largest county in the United States with nearly 2.3 million residents, over 15,000 employees, and headquarters for some of the most recognizable brands in the world, including Amazon. Omnichannel engagement is critically important to state and local governments. I often tell my team that today's disruptions are tomorrow's new normal. The coronavirus pandemic has forever changed the way the public, individuals, and businesses want and need to interact with government. 1 year into this pandemic, King County offices remain closed to the public and employees. However, that doesn't mean that critical operations have ceased. Omnichannel engagement is helping King County meet the public where they're at. King County is using AWS services, whether it's Connect, Lambda, API gateways, to connect with the public and provide critical services and information. So, why don't we take a moment to look at a demo I recorded earlier today?
So, how is King County addressing the needs of the communities we serve, particularly around vaccines? Individuals are looking for information such as, am I eligible to get a vaccine? And if so, how can I schedule an appointment? Or if there are no vaccines available, can I add my name to a wait list? King County is taking an omni-channel approach using AWS services to ensure that individuals get access to the services and information they need on first contact. So, how are we doing it? Connect is acting like the maestro, directing all of the traffic to deliver them to the right spot and giving them the information to help them solve their problem. So let's call Connect.
Welcome to the King County COVID-19 vaccination hotline. If this is a medical emergency, please hang up and dial 911 immediately or go to the nearest emergency room. Press 1 to check if you're eligible to schedule your first vaccine dose and be placed on our wait list. Press 2 to speak with an agent who can help verify you are eligible for and schedule your initial or second dose appointment. They can also cancel or reschedule an existing appointment. Have you received any vaccine in the last 14 days? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Are you a caregiver or home care worker for someone age 50 or older who cannot live independently? This can be a paid or unpaid position. Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Do you live in South King County? Examples: Auburn, Enumclaw, Federal Way, Kent, Des Moines, or Tukwila. Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Please enter your zip code. Thank you. Do you have a bleeding disorder or are you taking a blood thinner? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Have you had a positive COVID test or have you been treated for COVID? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Do you have a weakened immune system caused by something such as HIV infection or cancer, or do you take immunosuppressive drugs or therapies? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Have you had a severe allergic reaction to any medicine or vaccine? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Have you had a severe reaction to a COVID vaccine? Press 1 for yes, or press 2 for no. Good news. You qualify for the COVID-19 vaccine at this time. We currently do not have the availability to schedule COVID vaccinations. Would you like to be added to the wait list? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Can you please indicate your communication preference? Press 1 for text message, or press 2 for voice call. Before we add you to the wait list, can you please confirm if you want to receive a notification on 1-206-475-5591? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no. Can you please say or spell your first name?
Tanya.
Can you please say or spell your last name?
Hannah.
Please say or enter your date of birth, like March 1st, 1946.
March 1st, 1946.
Thank you. You have been successfully added to the wait list. Someone from King County will contact you when we have open availability. Thank you for calling King County. Goodbye.
And because I have a text message, I know that my name has been added to the wait list. Not only that, because I now have my information stored, when King County has, let's say, at the end of the day, some extra doses of vaccine, the county can actually initiate texts or phone calls to individuals within that zip code to say, vaccines are available at this location. Please show up within the next 30 minutes. And if you confirm, we will save that vaccine dosage for you. This is how omni-channel looks. And it is allowing King County to meet the needs of the community.
As you can see from King County Spotlight, this is how Omnichannel is helping deliver critical services and information to the public. Utilizing AWS can help you on this journey. Morgan, back to you.
Thank you, Tanya. That's an amazing customer experience for King County residents, and I'm sure the employees are enjoying the benefits of the automation as well. Now let's transition to the panel portion of our presentation, where we'll hear from both our speakers. So Mike, as the title of our session suggests, you both have some credibly innovative accomplishments leveraging the power of the cloud. What was one of the largest barriers to your accomplishment, and how did you overcome it?
Boy, Morgan, that's a great question. If I could date myself, I'm going to start with the answer by quoting Fiddler on the Roof, tradition. We are steeped in tradition in the state of Utah, and we've been doing things a great way for a long time. We've been really good at what we've done with virtual data center, having all of that streamlined. We can stand up an environment in short order, 30 minutes, 40 minutes from the time of the request. And so we were really good at doing things for the last 10 years. And then how do we transition now to the new way of doing things? Tanya mentioned tomorrow. What's tomorrow is going to be the norm. And so we were trying to figure out how to get the skill sets up to speed, how to get the mindset right, and how to transition an environment where you have 750 employees used to doing things the old way, now doing them the new way. And so that wasn't easy to try and change this dynamic that's been working so well for the last 10, 12 years, and to now pivot to this new way. And it is the future. Adopting the cloud now is going to save you and pay dividends down the road. So we wanted to make sure that we were positioned in such a way that the cloud journey was allowing us to future-proof what we were looking at. Now, it wasn't easy to transform the internal processes, to transform how we do things was difficult. But what we had to do is we created a cloud machine team, which is a group of individuals that were very savvy at the cloud and allowed them to break down hurdles for those other groups that were trying to help and get to the cloud, but still had some difficulty for whatever reason. That cloud machine team would come in, parachute in real quick, unstick things, get momentum going, and then move on to the next project. And that allowed us to have a very expert team in-house that could go in and help the other teams that were kind of growing and still figuring things out. With this mind shift and this paradigm, we were able to kind of start shifting into this. So the tradition of the old way was very hard to change. I mean, organizational change management is difficult. Moving to the cloud Yeah, it wasn't easy, but it was certainly the value. We saw the value. We saw that it was worth the lift to get there, and we were really pushing hard to get there. So what we wanted to do is also bring on security folks. As you get really good at protecting the borders of your on-prem solutions, and then all of a sudden transition to the cloud. That was another challenge that again came together with this Cloud Machine team and our security team coming together, figuring out the right ways to allow us to unstick the tradition that we've had for so long and pivot into this new paradigm. So anyway, I think it's working magically right now, and we're seeing great dividends on our efforts, and we're now starting to see a lot more momentum behind those efforts.
That's great to hear. For Tanya, as state and local governments look to the future, what does the future look like for King County, and how should others think about moving ahead?
You know, Morgan, that is a great question. The future is now. You heard Mike talk about cloud. You also mentioned stories of desktop virtualization, and I talked about omni-channel. All of those technologies are necessary for how state, local governments are going to need to deliver services. And it really will take a very comprehensive approach that's not limited by just our imaginations. When we think about how the pandemic caused the need for businesses and public sector to pivot literally overnight, the only way that governments can get scale and agility is by working with strategic partners such as AWS to really position the organization to handle what may come. A lot of organizations are using AI and machine learning or augmented and virtualization to really further extend how technology is the driver and the enablement of delivery of services. Governments do a lot of work, whether it's in transportation, healthcare, the environment, and just general services. And you will be able to further extend it if you're thinking about how all of the emerging technologies can help your organization really deliver critical services and information. I think that's really where we're going.
Great point, Tanya. And it's really good to not only focus on what our citizens need, but our employees as well, and that collaboration across government. Mike, any final thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, no, Tanya said that very well. That the future is going to transform state, local governments as we begin to share data across these boundaries that we haven't done that before, and we're starting to see. Let's focus on the citizen. The citizen doesn't know if they need to engage the state, the city, or the county. They just know I need to engage government. And so as we can take that, abstract that layer for them, and provide services, like Tanya said at the very beginning, bringing the government to the citizen where the citizen is, I think that's the goal. And I think our journeys are going to really be exciting, especially as they start to converge with all of the work that's going on between counties, states, and cities.
Good point. And Tanya, any final thoughts from you for our audience?
Don't be limited by your imagination. There is so much available technology for all state and local governments to use. Just reach out and ask other folks who are doing it, how are they going about their journey?
That's great insight. And we're happy to have both of you as AWS customers, and you can contact us as well. I'd like to wrap up by thanking both our panelists and our audience for joining this session. And please fill out your session survey. Thank you.